Death or Prison, brought to you by leanonmeusa.org. Let's join John Branham, Elmo Golden, and Raul Lopez in part 2 of their discussion with the shot caller, Casey Diaz, in an episode entitled From Lifer to Life.
I am Johnny Branham, and to my right, I have Mr. Raul Lopez. To my left, I have Mr. Elmo Big Mo Golden, and we have Mr. Casey Diaz on the line. He is the author of the book, The Shot Caller, and we are in the second part of a 3-part series where we're talking with Pastor Casey Diaz about his life. Just to recap, last week you heard his early childhood, you heard his struggles as he entered a gang at 11 years old, and you heard some things about his background and how he eventually ended up being arrested. And so today, Casey, we're picking up where you're now arrested and you're taken off of the streets. You said you were hauled off almost like a suitcase or hogtied. Walk us through that experience.
Well, I was taken to what's called the East Lake Juvenile Hall. We made a pit stop, of course, to the police department over at Rampart, and stayed there for several hours, and then eventually I was taken to East Lake Juvenile Hall, where I was placed in a unit called K&L, and this is the beginning of would start my arraignment and then the trial, of course.
And Casey, how old were you at that time?
I'm sorry, I'm about to turn 16.
Okay.
And I had a lot of interesting talks with detectives while I'm there. I remember Rampart robbery homicide came and saw me and asked me if I had any information on some other homeboys of mine that they would work out some kind of deal where I would avoid being tried as an adult and all that stuff. And I remember very, very clearly, I said to them, I don't have nothing to say to you at all. And I think these detectives know, they're not new to gang violence and to their job, and so they know when they can get something out of someone and when they can't. They took me out of my unit and then put me in a room out in by intake, and it was a very, very short, not even a minute, it seemed like. And they just turned around and I remember they left a card there on a table and said, if you change your mind, here's our number. And that was it. And then we went to trial. I remember this is when California decided to get really tough on gang violence at that time. And so I'm in the very initial batch of young offenders that are going to be tried as an adult, and there's a procedure that goes through that. If you ask any gang member that was convicted that early for that type of violent crime, we just really didn't care at that time. And they proceeded to start the whole process. I was found fit to be sent to an adult prison. But before doing that, there was 2 mistrials in my case. And that really helped.
Casey, what were the charges against you that you were arrested for?
So I was arrested for a second-degree murder, and also 52 counts of armed robbery. Okay. So those were attached as well. We were running a pretty violent role for a while, and prior to this arrest and conviction, I already had been done several times in different places. In Camp Miller, I had been through Los Padrinos. I had already done the whole tour of what the juvenile hall system had here in California. California was very lenient. I think that, and I share this in my story when I go to different places, different states, that if my crime would have been committed anywhere else other than California at that particular time, I know for certain that I wouldn't be out. I would have never been out.
I agree.
Because, you commit something like this in a Bible Belt state, basically anywhere, other than California. But here I am, and even when I'm being told that they're gonna go ahead and proceed with trying me as an adult, I didn't care. I mean, there was a total disregard for law, for emotions, for care. It just really didn't matter to me. So in my trial, there was two mistrials that happened in my case. And that really helped me even further in the sense that, I didn't get washed up with so many years in there, like a lot of my other offenders in my age range. I also came out in the very first batch of that. So then again, that really helped me out. I mean, there's guys that went in there with me, different cases, similar type of crimes, who only did 7 years. I remember seeing a young guy, doing 4 years and getting out. So California was very, very soft on crime. It's been known to be soft on crime here in this state.
I was going to ask you, what did they originally sentence you to?
12 years and 8 months.
Okay.
I was sent to what's called Norwalk. It's a reception center. And then to which I really didn't last very long in CYA. I was then deemed just a bit too dangerous for that environment, and so I was sent to the Los Angeles Men's Central Jail in downtown Los Angeles, where I would get reprocessed. And because of the amount of violence that I kept, piling up, I found myself, they threw me in what's called the gang module. And the gang module was set aside for if you were anyone in any gang in Los Angeles, if you had a reputation, a name, that's where you were going to get sent. And I mean, for a gang member, for a young gang member, you're walking into the gang module in LA County. I mean, your shoulders are up, your chin is high, and you think you're somebody. And there's a lot of schooling that goes along in there, because now you're with adult convicts, and there's some schooling. You don't just walk in there and you're gonna run things. That's not how it happens.
And when you say schooling, what kind of lessons were they giving out?
Well, there was, LA County is very racially divided. We could not in any way, shape or form, talk to another black inmate. We were not allowed to deal with other than ourselves. We had what's called the Southern United Raza, or Sur 13 is what we would call it. And what that meant was, this is all the Southern California gang members becoming one inside. And that was made in form of protection, and not only just protection, but also to push, crime and everything else, to make it organized. Gotcha. And this is all inmate to inmate. So I get sent there, and the schooling is, you got to keep your cell clean. There's a way to talk. There's a chain of command kind of thing. And there's a whole lot of stuff that you can and cannot do, and you got to make sure that you abide by those rules. So because if you didn't, there was, put it this way, if you didn't, your life would be taken just like that. It was very brutal. I was in there when two gentlemen came in One of them was in there for doing a drive-by shooting, and he ended up. That hit was done. Nobody got killed, but that hit was done on someone that he shouldn't have messed with. They had ties to organized crime in there. And I remember they were in our tier, and before the chow even took place, his life was gone. Several gang members were assigned to a cell, and he was stabbed to death, just like that.
You mentioned early on that you were selected to be a shot caller, even early on. Did that happen at the county jail where you were at now, or moving forward?
So the county jail, it's a pretty big county jail here in Southern California, because it also consists of what's called wayside. You had about, and there were dorms. There weren't even cells. There were big giant dorms. Mm-hmm. If there was about 120, 150 inmates, about 119 of them, of the 120 were in there for murder. Oh. And it was a dirty time because this was a time when, they would put, I remember they would put somebody that would, with outstanding tickets, and they would put them in these tanks with us.
Oh my goodness.
And I could only imagine the fright in these people that come in there for petty crimes. I think the sheriff's department at that time probably did it for a particular reason. There was a scandal about that as well. Mm-hmm. So it was at East Max in the unit was 2400, where I was placed. I was housed, and it was there that I was selected as a shot caller. I was then holding every prison shank or every jailhouse shank there. I was in charge of distribution of it. Anybody that needed to be hit, I had a big say-so on that. Anybody that was out of line, the amount of authority that is given is a little bit too much in my, looking back now as an adult. That's a lot of power for a young man. But then again, it's either you or them, and them meaning whatever other race. You just had to do whatever, needed to be done in order to survive.
You were what age at this time when you were selected to be the shot
by now, I'm probably turning 18 at this time.
Okay.
About close to 18, I think. And I'm waiting for a chain. I'm waiting for time to get bussed, to my next destination. I was there for several months. There was an immense amount of overcrowded jails at that time. I mean, you could only imagine the city of Los Angeles with over 3,000 gangs, and the amount of homicides and robberies and assaults, and I mean that prison was we were sardined. We were really sardined at that time. So the waits were to catch a chain to get transported to your next facility. And it was going to take a minute.
You were eventually transferred to North Kern State Prison, correct, in Delano, where you were evaluated.
Yeah, so in there you're held for 90 days, and then you're evaluated. This is where your initial point system is being looked at, and what they're looking at is your crime, your connections, whether inside or out, behaviors. If you've been put in what's called the juvie roll. Juvie roll in LA County Jail. Some of the guys that'll eventually listen to this will remember juvie roll. This was a solitary cell that LA County had, and it is a small cell, and it is a completely dark cell, a metal door, no windows whatsoever, and you're in there all day, all night, for whatever time the deputies decide you're fit to come back out.
Wow.
And so they don't tell you, you're going to be there for, this amount of time. They throw you in there and eventually you'll get out. You have to. But they decide on that. And there was no like a procedure. There was, if they found that you were doing something illegal in there and they deemed it dangerous and worthy of putting you in juke ball roll, then that's where they put you. And it's called juke ball because what you ate was all the leftovers from the chow hall.
Wow.
Were rolled up into meatball looking things, and you didn't know what you were eating.
Oh my goodness!
And you got 3 of those, and that was it. That was your you got that for breakfast, you got that for lunch, and you got that for dinner, and it was in the form of a meatball. And how we knew that it was in the form of you touch it. I mean, you're in a pitched black cell. You can't even look at your hands in front of you. It's that dark.
Gotcha.
And you could feel, the plate. You could feel the juke ball in your hand, and you're like, it smells like, like a rat died. It's nobody eats it. I don't care how hungry you are, you're not going to eat that. And you don't know what inmates handled it. As another thing. So for the Southerners, we were told we don't touch that. We don't eat that. If we're ever in that situation, we're not supposed to eat that.
Just go on a quick fast. Now explain the point system.
So the point system is, again, it's your crime, write-ups, any information that they might have that whether you're associated with a criminal enterprise in there, such as organized crime, whether it's the Mexican mafia, whether it's this or that, they're gonna trace whatever they can back to you. So they want to make sure that they're putting you in the right yard. So for me, after the evaluation, I scored 97, which meant that's straight to the SHU. That's an indefinite SHU term, meaning my whole entire sentence was supposed to be spent in the SHU program.
And 97 is out of how many points?
Out of 100.
And the SHU is the solitary housing unit, correct?
Segregated.
Yeah. So you gotta score. I believe back then it was 85 or higher for a SHU program term. And so I went in there with 97. And then again, when I was placed in that bus, there's cells inside the bus. They're cages is what they are, but they serve as cells. And if you're in any of those cages inside of this transportation bus, you're someone. You're either a snitch, a rapist, a child molester, or you're a shot caller. One of those 4 is what it'll get you inside of that cage. And so they put me in there, and we started our long trip to Sacramento. And when I got there, one of the things that you're young, man, and I remember I was my birthday was November 13th. I got there November 7th, and the one thing that gets your attention is that wall, that big giant wall.
And this was before your 19th birthday, right?
What's that?
This was before your 19th birthday?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're going in there, and we used to call them Ninja Turtles, these COs, these correctional officers. And there were from end to end of this wall was in just a massive amount of COs in riot gear. And that gets your attention, man. That really I don't care how big you think you are, how street savvy you are.
Yes.
When the bus gets in there, you there's something inside of you that goes, yeah, I messed up. This is now real. And I remember they let everybody out first. Then I came out, and I was escorted. the warden gave his little chat there, and then I was escorted to a room in which the gang coordinator and the warden would then start to talk to me and let me know personally that I would spend my entire sentence in the SHU program. Again, I'm a little, knucklehead who doesn't care about authority or anything like that. I just really didn't. I kind of brushed it off, and I didn't care. And then I was escorted to my cell in the SHU program.
So,
and while you're in there for 23 hours of the day. You look at your life at that moment, and you go, I think once you're in that cell, you have time to think these things through, and you there's this sense of pride that comes to you. It, as stupid as that sounds, there's a sense of pride of, you made it to this place. This is where made gang members are at. This is where, shot callers are held. A lot of you that are listening probably watch, Lock Up or Lock Up Abroad and all these shows on these, prison shows. They kind of show you, a thing or two of the inside. Many of those places, I think they're either filmed in minimum security prisons, because I know that in California, those cameras aren't allowed. They weren't allowed at that time at all. We weren't allowed to give interviews or anything like that. So my cell, and back then, solitary confinement was solitary confinement. You were given white boxer shorts, white T-shirt, a white sheet, a thin blanket, and a roll of toilet paper. That's all you got.
How long were you in there before you received your first visit? Do they allow church ministries or people to come back there with?
I didn't get any visits in there as far as like outside visits, except that there was prison ministry that was allowed to go there once a month on a Thursday. And, again, I wasn't looking for any kind of religious outlet or anything like that. So, all the movements that come in there. Obviously, it's a small contained pod. So every sound that is, you're familiar with every sound, every noise. You pretty much know exactly who's where, what's where, just by sounds, really. But this ministry came in, and they would spend about maybe 2 to 4 minutes per cell, pretty much. That's usually what it was. And this is where I was already in there for I want to say a year and 8 or 9 months, somewhere like that.
And is this where you meet Francis?
This is where I meet Francis Proctor, yeah. So Francis Proctor is a little Christian lady, little black lady, and she walked in on one particular moment while I was in there, and there was a conversation that was being held outside of my gate. And when I say my gate, it's my cell door. You could hear all the conversations, obviously. It's very echoey in there. And she's asking the CO, is that a cell down there? And I don't know that, I didn't know at this particular moment that she was talking about me. I was just minding my own business. And I could hear the conversation with them. And the CO says to her, yeah, there is, but you don't want nothing to do with that. You don't want nothing to do with that. And she's very bold. She's very, she's not taking no for an answer. Mm-hmm. And this goes back and forth, almost like a ping pong table, man, of, can I approach a cell thing? Finally, she's given permission to approach my cell. And the reason why I knew that they were talking about me is when he mentioned to her, that's Diaz in there. you're wasting your time, but go ahead and approach a cell.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the things that I heard her say was, Jesus came for everybody. Can I approach a cell? And gives her permission to do so. And she's standing in front of my gate. And her first question to me was, she said, "How are you doing?" And I sarcastically said, I couldn't be better. And, I got a chuckle out of her. And she said, "That was a stupid question." I said, "It's all good." She said, "Hey, I want to invite you to, to a Bible study here. I could sit with you," and boom, boom, boom. And, and she starts selling me this religious thing. At that moment, this is what I think, she starts selling me this religious thing, and I'm not interested. I'm so not interested. And I told her, I said, I'm cool with that. It just, I don't want nothing to do with that. I'm okay. And again, this is a lady that she wasn't going to take a no for an answer. So she says to me, she says, I'm going to put you on my hit list. And that was a colorful word that she used. She said, "I'm going to put you on my hit list, and Jesus is going to use you." Mm. And when she said that, I kind of like, what is this lady talking about, man? She's lost her marbles. She doesn't know where she's at. Mm. She doesn't know who I am. And she says, "Do you mind when I come here, if I can spend some time with you?" And I said, she says, "I want to pray for you." So you can go ahead and do whatever you want, but I'm letting you know I'm not interested in any of that, in any of this religious stuff. It's just not me. And she went into prayer intercession for 1.5 years over my life.
You're listening to the Death or Prison podcast, brought to you by leanonmeusa.org, where you can click the podcast button and it will connect you to a welcoming mentoring church near you. I want to let the listeners know this is not it. You want to tune in next week, because we'll be following up with Casey over the next couple of weeks to finish up this story. It is phenomenal. We say it's Death or Prison podcast, but what do we say each week, fellas?
We choose life. Amen.
Looking for a welcoming church? Connect at leanonmeusa.org. Be sure to join us next week on Death or Prison for part 3 of our discussion with the shot caller, Casey Diaz. Death or Prison is a production of leanonmeusa.org. Copyright 2020. Death or Prison is offered for information only and is not intended as legal advice. Thank you for listening.
I can change the world. Feed one, teach one boy and girl. Maybe we can change the world.